Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the Code Review Weekly Workshop. And we have some things to discuss pertaining to code review. So, Heinrich, what's on your mind?
Yeah, first of all, yeah, thank you for organizing this call. I find it like super interesting. I just learned about it when you posted it in the Slack channel, and yeah, just in time, like I had an interesting review yesterday, and it was a dependency update, and I also saw that you discussed some dependency updates on this call before, and like they're always a challenge. Yeah, so
Do you
for
want to
this
share your screen
case,
if you're looking
yeah,
at something?
yeah. Wait. Okay, here I'm opening the MR. So it's a first, this was actually upgraded to 1.5, I think, or some of the latest version, right? And so first thing I look at when reviewing dependency updates, of course, is the change log, right? Like it's like the obvious thing to check. But um, it's always good to also check the code because some things might not be in the change log, and um, in this case that bug wasn't obvious from this change log. So next thing is this link is a link to my .defense. So this is kind of like if you go to Ruby Gems and we open Ruby Gems, generates this link here in the review changes button to this my diff and something with the versions. You could change the versions if you want to diff one older version to this new version.
Oh, cool.
And what's nice about this is that this actually diffs the actual contents of the gem, right? Because sometimes we're tempted to just go to the sidekick cron repo and then look at the tags here and do a compare. But that's, for security reasons, that's not the best thing to do, because what's the contents of the repo is not exactly, I mean, could be like poisoned or whatever, and the gem contains some other code. So it's a good idea to uh, do things like this. I don't know if yarn package npm packages have something similar, but this is for Ruby gems. We have this thing. And so yeah, and for this one, it's kind of, I wouldn't say we should like spend so much time into reviewing these gems. It's always daunting because you don't have like, you don't know the whole code base of that gem, right? And but for this one, I was like contributing to this sidekick polar code, and so I know this code base, so I kind of like familiar with it. So this is not like expected that you find bugs in upstream stuff, but I was just lucky to
Right.
be familiar with the code here. And so yeah, we found a bug, and then funny because after I found that sidekick cron bug, I actually found another bug in sidekick itself, just by reading the code, because it inherits
Oh,
sidekick code, and when I read the sidekick code, I found a bug where um yeah, it's not so important, but the
oh man.
sidekick
Yeah.
polling is supposed to depend on a the number of processes running, so that they get random. If you have 5 processes, then every process should only ping like longer periods so that you don't get so many pings. Yeah, and the sidekick maintainer is very responsive. I filed a patch, it got merged same day, so that's cool.
Wow. Wow. Well,
And yeah, just wanted to share that. Interesting. Yeah.
that is a really cool thing to share. And it's kind of uh really scary for everyone to see. Because um these dependency update MRs are a little scary because a whole lot's changing and it's a whole lot you don't have control over. And you kind of, like to see examples of where I didn't need to spend all that time. But this is an example of you did need to spend all that time. And that's tough. That's really tough. And so yeah, I think the big question is like I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Heinrich, and anyone else. Like what is the how do you distinguish if this is if this is an dependency update that warrants that level of investigation or not? And because it is a lot, and it's a lot that, some people may not be familiar with. So what are your thoughts on making that decision, Heinrich?
Yeah, one of my criteria is like how important it is to the code base. Like if it's for one feature or something, and probably it's less important, right? It's if it's a development gem, then even less important to be more critical, right? But this is like Sidekick, and like I don't want to break Sidekick, and it's like it would affect the a lot of things. If Sidekick cron breaks, all that we do a lot of cron jobs and that breaks, or if it breaks Sidekick. In this case, the bug is actually funny because what it does is it's altering Sidekick behavior instead of just altering its own behavior, the cron behavior. So it it doesn't break Sidekick for this bug, but it makes operations on Sidekick more expensive. It increases the polling of the Sidekick even if it's not related to cron. So yes, if it's mission critical components, I try to be more critical.
Yeah, that's a good I think it's a good perspective because doing this on like a linter or something may not be as you may not need to spend as much time on that. Does anyone have any other thoughts about dependency upgrade MRs? These are my least favorite MRs. I hate how uh they feel like little ninjas that are unassuming, but they pack a lot. Cool. Thanks for sharing that, Heinrich. Um, Yannick,
Oh,
do you?
I have one question before we move
Oh
on. I
yeah.
just thought of something. Like when we do these dependency upgrade things, I don't know. I keep going back to that whole like multi-version compatibility. Is there any concerns that we should have about that? I guess. I don't know. I don't know if there is.
So that's a really good question, and Heinrich, please correct me if I'm wrong, and Terry too, as being the resident representing the back end.
Yeah, I have to go look at that page every time to see the little pictures with the ship because I don't remember what's the order that
Right.
things get rolled out.
I believe this has to do with different versions of our backend getting deployed and temporarily running at the same time.
Yeah.
So if nothing's changing with the database layer and nothing's changing with the front end layer, and the front end can hit both, types of the backends, I think that means it's pretty good. I think if we're changing something that like, oh, it would change how we'd interact with that database layer under different, and this database layer is now assuming just one protocol, like that would cause issues. And then the more you move that up the layered architecture, I think that's when that causes issues. But it is worth looking into, and it's worth just pinging someone if you're not sure about it. If it's something as critical as like Sidekick that is talking to the database, if and that's a really interesting point. Does Sidekick talk to the database? I don't know. I'm talking like
Mhm.
I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's also some concerns, I think, when you have like sidekick workers that have different code that are being called by like
Yeah.
there's some concerns there, but
Yeah. So if you
I
have like
mean,
backend A and backend B, and backend A is using updated Sidekick, which uses a new, of some sort of breaking change data it's going to write to the backend, then yeah, whatever worker B that doesn't have that update won't be able to read that. So that's a good point too. Yeah, that's a really tough requirement to meet. Because on .com, like we're pretty good if like we do these canary the our on I realized last time I looked at that, it's not just .com reliability, but apparently we have maybe I shouldn't say apparently, we do have a commitment to customers that if they can subscribe to this 0 downtime upgrade stream if they just upgrade from one version to another version. And that adds that's hard to it just adds a bit of unintuitive complexity to how we do changes. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Terry. So if we're not sure, the very least thing is to ask a question. And I think that doc has some resources to reach out to if you need help, I think, right? Okay.
I think so. Maybe the release managers might be a channel to go into if I was concerned, because I think that would be the team that I might ask, hey, I wouldn't mind putting eyes on this, and someone from that team.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely don't go into the level. Like I've only gotten a few dependency updates to review. And even when it's something that I'm really familiar with, like we just did the Elasticsearch gem not too recently, and it's scary. So I'm with you on that one. It seems so simple. It's just like they're often like a few lines of changes.
Yeah.
But
I like to this is a good question regarding this. How do you all feel about how bleeding edge do we want to be with versions? Like, do we have baked into the bots that automatically update things? Do we have baked in to just always get me the latest, or do we wait a certain amount of time before we get the latest? And does that question make sense?
yeah, I think for global search, it's on us to make changes, and we're not on the latest quite often. But I don't know how the bot decides.
Yeah, I don't know if we have the renovate thing on our main Rails repo. I don't see the things from the bot, so maybe we don't have it enabled.
Oh,
I do know we do that on other
yeah.
projects or repos, right? Yeah.
Then you're missing out on front end. We have renovate just keeps updating our packages, and these dependency upgrade MRs. I said they're the scariest. Now you have a robot making them. It's really scary.
Yeah, I guess I was wondering why I've never seen one for the back end, and that makes sense. So the front end has the bot that just
yeah, but it's targeted towards. I don't think it updates everything. It's targeted towards mostly like I think
stable.
development packages that are fairly trustworthy. I think we only put packages that we can have a fair amount of trust with on there. Yeah,
I feel like there's a balance though, because we waited so long to update the gem. I don't think it had been updated since I joined in early 2020, and it's now 2022. So like the risk is a lot more when you wait too long. So I feel like there's like it feels safe to not upgrade very often, but then also like you have this, the reviewing becomes more complicated because you have so much more to go back and check.
That's a really good point. I think there's a curve there, like probably a parabola.
Quick questions about about something. I don't necessarily want to have this on the recording. Is this recording for internal, or can we just pause it for a second?
You don't want this on the recording? Well, too bad. Recording.
Please.
Wow, Yannick, what you just said was really profound and probably changed my life forever. Thanks for bringing that up.
Absolutely.
On talking about dependency upgrades, I do really want to check in with Natalia, because you just did big view upgrade. And did we happen to see any quirkiness of like maybe was there any issues where we discovered some quirky behavior with the new view that we had to push upstream fixes or something like that? Or what was
I think you know the answer. I just want it to be recorded. So yeah, there was an aftermath that was really impossible to check on the review. And this aftermath is growth of compiled assets size. And it's not just a little growth, it was really significant one that caused our pipelines running for much longer, taking much more resources. So we reverted the change in the end. And this is something that is really hard to find on the review stage or even on testing the new package, because you can't see it on the GDK. And even when you check it on the MR, you have slight increase in terms of bundle size, but not the way it affects the compiled assets. So yeah, we need to revert this one, and still thinking how to resolve the view loader problem.
That's tough. It's been really nice to prioritize, some sort of way to let that be bubbled up, the warning of like, hey, some MR is about to really change and we're trying to do that with the bundle stuff, but I know that's touch and go, isn't super reliable. But those are tough, the kind of situations that you really don't get to know about until it's too, we're considering reverting now, and that's okay. Thanks for sharing, Natalia.
Yeah, I just remembered something else that's similar. Like, I remember doing a Ruby gem upgrade before where it has C extensions, and what happens is like we package our GitLab, omnibus in different platforms, and turns out it doesn't compile on certain architectures and all that, and you find out later, too late, right? And
Man.
But good thing is I saw a Slack message about distribution adding a new job to our pipeline where it does package on all platforms or something. I forgot the name, but that's a good thing to do when you see a dependency update that touches like C extensions or whatever local thing that could affect other platforms.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cool. Well, I hope I don't have a dependency upgrade MR anytime soon. I'm joking. No, I actually feel more equipped to handle them in the way that serves our customers best. So thanks for the discussion. Did you want to bring up some of the things you're observing with the maintainer stuff, Yannick, or do you want to hop to Aston?
Hop to where?
Hop to MR review pairing. That was the next thing on the list. Or we can
gotcha. Let's quickly make this a topic. So hopefully everyone is familiar. There have been major changes to maintainer and reviewer responsibilities.
Do you want to share your screen so we're maybe looking at the thing?
Yes. So I'd be curious about your take on this. I don't specifically have I do have a lot of opinions on this, but I'm taking this as granted. There were not many surprises to me. Starting off with, though, I feel like I have found at least one contradiction in there. A quick one to start with, and that would be our reviewer values, and we could probably discuss about
Yannick,
those.
you're supposed to just review code. All right. Keep all of the reviewing to the code.
Never mind the values.
Stop trying to find logical inconsistencies outside of the code. I'm joking.
Gotcha. No worries. But it's actually code related, and very much so in this case, because what I wanted to highlight is something that I would still highlight here. Here we are. Lean towards a bias for action and collaboration for velocity. Don't be afraid to fix linting errors. Like, summarized, if you find a really small thing, just fix it and go ahead, because it might be just a typo or something. Let's not block anybody, just do it. And Heinrich, you can help me out because you've been very active in this thread. There have been changes to the, I don't know the exact term, but actually who's allowed to approve or merge. And we are, as far as I know, we are not even allowed to rebase anymore if we still want to approve something and actually fixing a typo or a linting issue or something like that would, from my understanding, still fall into this category. So this sounds like a good idea, but from what I can see, I don't think that's possible at the moment. Like it is, but you would need another reviewer after that.
Do you mind if I hop in?
Please.
So this leaning towards a bias for action collaboration has been in the handbook for a year plus. Just recently, for some reason, maybe pushing like we need to show without a shadow of a doubt to some customers the kind of controls that we have internally. There's some sort of external reason that's wanting us to be able to quickly show without a shadow of doubt there are no unauthorized changes hitting our repo. And there's a lot of interpretation of what unauthorized change means. But one way would be, hey, every change goes through a review. And I think that's some sort of way that gets interpreted. And so, yeah, this is not the intent. It's not the intent is, sorry. The intent was not to prevent maintainers from having a bias for action, but that was kind of collateral damage to needing to set up these controls so that we can verify and prove these kind of inquiries. So I did bring up some, I think Heinrich did too. No, maybe you didn't.
I think this slide is actually like not updated because I remember there was an MR because we had this like documented in the review something page in the handbook. And I remember the MR to change the approval rules also changed that to remove that section where you can apply your own suggestion thing. Maybe it was a different handbook page and this one wasn't updated. So yeah.
I think that's the case. This is a different handbook page. So yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I would say, here's the interesting thing though, is it's really just maintainers can't do that now. And hopefully we push hard to figure out, hey, this is an efficiency hit, doesn't go with our values. We need to figure out a way to not only support inquiries of unauthorized changes, but also allow maintainers to do this. Regular reviewers should be able to do this, right?
That would be my question. I don't know, but I really want to highlight this. Like if a reviewer commits to a feature branch, is he or she still able to approve this amount?
But even if they can't, like we only need the maintainer reviews are the only thing that's actually required. So
fair point. Yeah, fair point. So yeah, it doesn't really
but
yeah, gotcha.
This does add friction for that, and it's not great. But yeah, you're right to highlight this. This is a little outdated and is worth clarifying, probably creating an MR to talk about it. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah.
Yep, we should update this handbook page at least.
I've been seeing a lot of backend maintainers posting saying I've applied something and now I can't merge this. Can someone help merge this for me? And then I guess my only worry about that is like as a maintainer, it's hard for me to context switch into like an MR and just say, oh, like I don't want to just go and say, okay, I'll just go approve it without like looking at it. And then like how much do you look at it?
Yeah.
Do you need to go do a full review? Like, I don't know, because essentially like you're stamping your approval on it and then you're probably going to be the person that merges it without that much context. I don't know. I'm not sure what the right.
That's a great point. But I think there's a hidden cost with, what would they call it? Taking the thick paintbrush and trying to do this big broad fix, which hurts this practice that we've done. Is it's gonna in the end hurt the health of our code base because now there's friction towards bringing things up and fixing things that are just right there glaringly obvious of like, hey, we can just fix this and merge it and go. Now there's friction. And I think people will be less motivated to promote, that level of health in the code base because it's gonna, add a couple of days now before the MR gets merged. And something that we need to be, I believe that we're wanting to address but I guess for some reason we had to meet some sort of requirements first. So these are definitely, I think we could do better at being transparent on the reasons why some of those changes were made. I think some reasons were shared, but I still don't think it's shared so much that others reading it would come to the same conclusion. Like, I think that there's still more hidden context there that
Do you know where there have been shared poll? Because they didn't cross my path.
it was on Slack. There was some
Okay.
announcement. I don't know if it's in this. I don't know if it's in this thing too. So here's what's interesting. No, you're right. It's not in this one. So this is what's so weird. It's like, so yeah, we had this huge maintainer working group putting together, making consistent, getting rid of contradictions, and we're gonna try to plot this course for what does being a reviewer and a maintainer mean. But then at the same time, we did this huge culture shift of using code owners. You can't approve if you haven't committed. Like, this happens separately. And that's, I think, part of the confusion here too. And that happened rather quickly, for better. or for
Yeah, I
And
think
independent from it, yeah.
I
Sure.
was in the maintainership working group. I didn't realize the other change was happening, but I also haven't gone to a ton of the working group meetings just because the time was just not convenient for me. But I have been working on some of the changes. I think there's still like one outstanding MR with regards to the trainee program that has yet to be merged, but I definitely kind of threw some interesting changes into like what we have been discussing for like what maintainership means. And I mean, I feel like we'll come up with something to get around, not around, but like to have somehow work that action for bias into the merging process.
Yeah.
But it still feels like a pretty fresh change. So
Yeah, I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see.
Could somebody lead me to any kind of resources about the newly introduced code owner review? Because I haven't fully gotten my head around this.
I think Heinrich just did on the Zoom chat. So
Sweet.
add it to, if someone can just add that to the agenda too, that'd be
Yeah.
great. Okay, cool. Thanks for bringing this up.
Awesome.
Yeah, does anyone have any MRs that they'd like to share with us to review together? I know it's weird pair reviewing is weird. But I like to have this dedicated time for me to get on. I don't do any reviews during the week anymore. I just do it during this meeting. I'm joking. But I always have a sundry of reviews that we can take a look at. But if you all have interesting, whether we don't even have to finish them, but just sometimes opening them up and talking about them can be helpful. I'm pausing because sometimes it takes some time for it to bubble up of like, oh yeah, I've got this thing. All right, then I'm just gonna share my screen. I'm gonna go for it. Let me make sure I don't have any security MRs assigned to me. Okay. All right. I've shared this screen. This one is like already in the third round of review and is fairly small and from the front end perspective. And this is probably going to be the final round of review, so that might be cool. This is the dependency update I've been procrastinating on. Terry knows all about this MR.
oh
This
no,
one
is it still out there?
I know, I'm bad. This is my fault. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry,
No,
Sourcecraft.
it's fine.
I apologize to Sourcecraft too. This is one on the WebID project, which could be interesting. This is one that is new to me and is on the GitLab UI project. So I haven't read this at all. So this might be fairly straightforward. What do you all think?
I haven't seen any GitLab UI MRs for a while, so it'd be a nice refresher.
Okay, cool. Let's do it. Let me see. All right, this is authored by IP, but I see it's assigned to someone else. We are adding type checkbox to indeterminate disabled control styles. Is there an issue for this? There's not. So I wonder, before we had that, and after, why does it look like there's so much? Because we must have changed the story. So it looks like, oh, this is a custom, this is a fancy CSS selector. I have no idea what indeterminate is. Maybe I shouldn't have admitted that out loud. Looks like we're just, what were you
I
saying?
think you should. Interesting. Like a checkbox is pretty Boolean to me, kind of. So that sounds like an in-between for me. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, like quantum physics type thing. Right?
The Schrodinger's, Schrodinger's. This is Schroeder's checkbox. Yeah, I don't know.
No, but we use that usually in like it's usually used in like tree thing, for example, or like nested lists where the parent is indeterminate if the child is like mixed, and yeah.
Wow. So I'm trying to understand why we would need to. Well, I guess is it my job to understand why?
That is a fantastic question regarding code reviews. It really, really is. I'd be curious about your takes. I'd go with yes, because I sometimes hate it, but otherwise I don't feel like I can give a review on this kind of thing.
Yeah, I
So-
have to time box my I have to time box myself though, like because I could easily spend 30 minutes asking the question, but why? Thankfully,
It's a
usually
very
there's
good point, though.
Yeah,
That's
you
the
and
first
my
thing I
and my
check.
toddler,
Oh.
the why. You and my toddler both. But why?
What were you
So do
saying?
you
when
go do
I-
the research? Do you go look through the issue and read up on it?
Well, that's actually, I
Yeah.
realized there wasn't a link to the issue in the description, and that made me a little nervous, but now I see there's a link to an issue in the comment. So I could have wasted a whole bunch of time figuring out why myself, but it's probably good to read the description and then do the cursory glance of the comments is probably a much better path for this. It's a minor which hits if a radio button is indeterminate and disabled. This can be seen if one is logged out and has a look at any public epic. Render grayish square under certain circumstances. Oh, because this is a radio. Ah. How interesting.
So it's just making the CSS more specific to checkboxes, right?
Yes.
Could somebody tell me what kind of status we're looking at? Because I don't get it yet.
So it says if one is logged out and has a look at any public epic. Let's see if I can do that. I'm just gonna see if I can find the web ID epic. Sure. Ah, look at it, that's right there. So it's this is disabled, and is there the indeterminate one? Indeterminate one is not being hit here, but it does look like I'm not going to try to change it here. So I do want to make sure we fix it with this thing. So that is actually, I would like to confirm this UI CSS actually fixes this. And I can do that. In the GitLab UI project, we have a really cool job I can run, which will create a integration branch. And then I could just open that up in the review app, you know, sure, we dropped $20 running the pipeline, but spending GitLab money like it's my own. I'm joking, which means on credit. I'm joking too. I'm sorry. So this will create an MR. Actually, this will create, I believe this will actually just also create an MR that, does it create an MR? No, it just creates a branch, I think. Either way, we'll create an MR and, or I could just check out this branch locally and test it out. So that's really helpful. And I can confirm that, yes, we fixed the epic thing. And so here in the story, I would have expected us to have recreated this in the story, that original issue, but that's not necessarily what I'm saying. But that's okay. So the big to do for me is I'd like to confirm that this fixed the issue in a transparent way. I'm going to actually just leave a note for myself about that. All right. I'd like to confirm that this fixes the original issue mentioned here. So I am spinning up an integration branch. Okay. Cool. So assuming that this does fix it, I'm looking, we just changed the CSS thing. That is fine, I suppose.
Data is an arrow function on the component. That's not good.
Are these is this a component?
No, I think it's stories. For story, it's okay. I
It's a
just thought
story.
it was a component and like, what?
You've been looking at view 3 where like date, like you're looking at, because everything gets like declared top level too. I did a little bit of view 3 last weekend. I was like, oh man, this is so weird. I like declaring my methods. Yes. So this is, yeah, I guess somehow we just threw, why did we create data for this? That is a little strange. I'm gonna go ahead and check this out locally. I am gonna go to nope. GitLab UI. Let's see. I'm on main branch. Let's fetch and reset. Okay. So I'm gonna curl the diff, apply it. All right. Okay. So these stories work where somehow we have something that reads from the things that are exported, creates stories, and the things that are exported resemble components, but yeah, this must be a component. I'm really curious about why would we put this in data when it's only ever true and it doesn't change. Is this because we have a dot sync here? That must be why. I haven't ever used dot sync in like in a professional way. Natalia, I'm leaning on you. I'm so glad you're here. What does dot sync do?
This is the replacement effectively for vModel. With the sync, you have the prop test as a model and you rely on the update event, just like in view 3, to
Yes.
update it. So instead of input and value, you have this prop as a value and update event accordingly.
Got it. Wow. Okay. Cool. That's really interesting. Interesting. So we're seeing if this story is like determinant, it should change the rest of the story. And this is all, none of this is none of this is user facing stuff. This is all just our stories. But can I ask you another question? I'm sorry, Terry and Heinrich, you're here. I'm going to the nitty gritty of the front end stuff. But I thought .sync did something like you were describing, but I was unfamiliar with it. And we also use vModel, so now we just do. We've got multiple ways to handle this.
To control it, yes.
Okay.
But the point is for vModel, form checkbox group is used. It's not checkbox, you can see. It's different one. What GL form checkbox, it will only get indeterminate property as a model and will update it. So it's different things to control, I think.
That makes sense. Yeah, that does make sense. I wonder if we do ever run that like update. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I would expect either in the underlying bootstrap component or this, I'd expect to see update and determinate, right? If we're syncing it.
Yes.
Okay.
I think they interestingly use it as an attribute, not a prop. But why sync then?
Exactly. But then it's also like none of this is user facing. So but it's clearly causing me some level of confusion. It might cause others levels of confusion. This is worth me time boxing myself. So I'm going to time box myself for 5 minutes. And by myself, I mean the collective us, which are doing this together. I'm going to run Storybook, and I'm going to see, does anything actually change here? And if I'm not seeing how this changes or what this is doing, then I'm going to ask a question about it. This one, we have default options. We create our template where they are either option is checked. Where would okay. Yeah, I'm just noticing some questions I have, because I guess clearly I'm a little outside of my expertise, but I do have some questions. I am going to just run this locally. Let me go to the form checkbox. Here we go. Checkboxes. Great. Indeterminate. Whoa, did you see that? That was so fancy. But I don't think anything's actually syncing here. You know what I mean? Like, so this still says indeterminate, right? Okay, so I'm gonna leave a question here, like, because I'm not sure anything is actually syncing. Is indeterminate sync? I just had to fix my sync yesterday. It'd be funny for a plumber to show up to the job. They have an indeterminate sync. Anyways, sorry. Is indeterminate sync actually behaving like we think? Not seeing indeterminate updating anywhere else. Okay, that's my question I'm asking there. The other question I would have is here, I notice should checked be a boolean, and that I actually think I need to go to our Bootstrap view docs, because we're wrapping this thing. About. Is an array. Oh, wait, this is in the group. Okay. Let's go here. This is an any. Interesting. I guess it can be any. I mean, maybe should it be a Boolean? I don't know. I'm asking a question. We'll see if it should or shouldn't. Yeah. And then I'm going to ask a question of yes. So then I'm going to ask a question here. Should we add a story that would capture the radio button issue shown in the original issue? Gosh, I used issue twice in a sentence. Oh no. Oh well. All right. I asked 3 questions. I think that's where I'm at. Thanks for working on this, Leipert. And left some questions for your consideration. Back to you. Oh man, you all are helping me get my work done. This is great. Well, I guess we don't have enough time to start another one. But that was fun. And I learned about indeterminate. Ugh, indeterminate checkboxes. Wow. That's good. All right. Thanks, everybody. I will catch you all later. Adios.
See you then.